Our next topic is going to be about Crysis 4, a topic that we've been talking about on the channel now a few times because Crysis, guys, is very close to myself. I really enjoyed this franchise and I want to see the continuation of it. Well, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about Crysis 4 and everything we know so far about the game, which is very limited information, guys, because it all comes down to if Crytek is going to announce it at some point in the future, because obviously all hands are on deck with Hunt Showdown, which is, of course, the big game for Crytek, or are they all on that game? It's hard to say, but let's talk about it. So, guys, this was a blog that I found pretty interesting from a guy named G-Man on game playing. And almost 3 years later, there was a grain of information about Crysis 4. Perhaps the game's name will be different. Crytek does not hurry to reveal all the details of the project, and insiders are predicting a new life for CryEngine. According to one reliable source, Crysis 4 will be shown on E3 2017, which obviously never happened, guys. They will do it together with the presentation of the new version of CryEngine. So yeah, that obviously didn't happen. This article was written, and this blog was written a long time ago. However, according to one reliable source, Crysis, also the insider suggested that perhaps the game will tell the story for many years after Crysis 3, when humanity has already got through the aliens' invasion. This is one of the several scenarios that were previously available to a certain circle of individuals. Perhaps Crytek believes that continuing the series will be the most profitable decision. We very much hope for it. So I got to agree that, I mean, a lot of us are obviously, certainly excited about this. If there's any silver lining, guys, even though obviously this was a blog that was written a long time ago, it's the fact that, okay, Crytek was working on Hunt Showdown, which is a fantastic game, by the way. You guys should definitely check it out if you had not already. But obviously, there's been talk for years about Crysis and the continuation of it. I think Crytek wanted to work on something different first for a little while, which would be Hunt Showdown. And I think the next iteration could very well be Crysis 4. So there is no exact release date, but some sources claim that the game will be released in 2019. Another thing that never happened, guys. It will be the most high-tech game for PC and consoles of a new generation. So, okay, if we look at this from a, if you kind of look at this from a broad scope, right? Obviously, it didn't come out. It wasn't announced at 2017 E3, wasn't announced at 2018, wasn't announced at 2019. And so now we're in 2020. So what are we looking at here? Where could this story be going? And, what's the potential? Well, a lot of the potential from what Crytek was talking about when they were talking about a Crysis 4, they specifically said that they don't think that they would actually name the game Crysis 4. It would be a free-to-play Crysis game, which I think would be absolutely huge. When you look at all the other free-to-play games out there, I mean, we're talking Apex Legends, Fortnite. When we talk about first-person shooters, I mean, you're mainly talking Apex, right? And so I think a Crysis reboot, like a soft reboot, free-to-play game, doesn't necessarily have to have Battle Royale, but I think that would be kind of cool too. But if it had like a multiplayer focus as well as even a story focus as well, kind of a soft reboot focus of story, and then on top of that, like a BR, man, you're talking something that could be really special. Here's the point, though, guys. There's not a lot of information yet about Crysis, but at this point, the Crytek has talked about it on and off over the years. They've talked about it. I believe personally that they are at this point probably working on it at the very beginning stages of a Crysis 4. That's what they're kind of looking at, because really, when you think about it, as far as articles are concerned and all of that, there's not a ton of information about a Crysis 4. There just isn't. Crytek does a really good job about keeping a lid on everything, any kinds of leaks and things of that nature. So I believe, personally, guys, that we're going to be seeing most likely an announcement for Crysis 4, or whatever the Crysis reboot would be called, potentially in 2020. but more likely 2021 or 2022, and then we probably would see the game itself a couple of years later. But let me know what you guys all think. Would you want to see a Crysis 4 or a Crysis Soft reboot that would also be free to play? What do you guys think about that? Let's have a real conversation about it.